Roosevelt. Which one?
Teddy.
Teddy. What did Teddy do?
He says that anybody who wants to claim dual citizenship is cheating and should leave.
Basically, Teddy said, you are an American, or you're not. Less filling, tastes great. You're pregnant or you're not kind of a thing. You are either all American or you are not American at all. And the basic idea is that we speak one language, we have but one flag, we have but one culture, we have but, all of these things. You respect these or basically get out. And Teddy Roosevelt ended up on Mount Rushmore. If you remember, nationalism was the ideology that the chapter considers the biggest winner. Because when you think about it, I mean, when the Olympics went on, people probably don't really give a rat's about curling. But if the U.S. was curling and doing well, or Canada was curling and doing well, or Britain was curling and doing well, and you came from these other countries, odds are you probably got excited, not because it was curling, but it was your country. That's what nationalism is. So it's good, but if it goes to the extreme, it becomes very, very dangerous. And Roosevelt, some people might argue, was that extreme. Did you have something, Ben? Did you want to say?
Well, yeah, America got excited because we basically dominated snowboarding.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't get the most gold.
Yeah,
We didn't get the most
we
gold.
got the most votes.
But we
Who
dominated.
did?
We dominated snowboarding.
Canada, I think.
No.
No.
I think Canada got the most gold.
Because they got the last.
Yeah, the U.S. got the most total, but Canada got the most gold.
Damn Sydney.
That is true.
I
That's the hockey.
actually saw a guy. I was driving home one day, and his car pulls up next to me at a red light, and the guy's wearing a Canadian Sidney Crosby jersey.
Yeah.
Canadian. He's living in the U.S. wearing a Canada jersey.
Tell one dude. I would just wear the
Kids won't
Penguins.
stop saying
I would
that.
just wear the Penguins jersey.
But that's ridiculous. You rooted for another country that isn't yours during the Olympics?
That's so not nationalistic.
That's
And if you remember, nationalism, when we first started talking about this, began to get the rednecks upset with the more international folks. If you remember, not that I'm looking at anybody in particular as I say this, but if you remember, that's when it got started. So understand, that's when some of the debates happened. Yes?
Under nationalism, it has draft on the outline. What's that all about?
That's just talking about sometimes you have to draft people in the military. And we didn't really talk about that, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We should be good. Other articles after nationalism. The Brass Cross at William and Mary. Take a look at that one. That one should be fairly straightforward. I think we basically hit the terms. Is there anything else, questions that y'all had in reference to 6? A lot of articles from 6, or a fair number anyway. 7, political culture. And let me go ahead and pull this one up, and we're running a little low on time, but I've got a few minutes yet. And when you look at this one for chapter 7, actually, let me just pull up the terms. What I'll do on this exam, and I've said this before, is I am absolutely going to use your names in the questions. So at different points with these articles, I'm not saying that somebody's going to be an HIV-infected prostitute. I mean, I'm not going to say something like that. But your names will be in the questions, and they'll be applying the articles. So for the multiple choices, make sure that as you read the test questions, you can liken it back to a term from one of these chapters or an article. And when you're able to do that, it should make it a heck of a lot easier. It should make it a heck of a lot easier as far as answering it, because oftentimes what I'll do is probably refer back to the article and be like, okay, thinking back to the articles, which of the following would likely happen? Somebody asked today, as far as like the final answer to some of these things, a lot of these things we've been talking about are still kind of ongoing. So understand, not all of them are going to be resolved just yet. And that might actually be something that ends up being an answer. I don't know, it hasn't been solved yet, and that might actually be one of the choices. But political culture, what do you guys have as far as questions here? Go ahead.
One thing I don't think we went over is U.S. oil.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. That was going to be another article, and I think y'all have enough.
Political culture is about attorneys, right?
I'm sorry?
Political culture is about attorneys.
That was the first article. The first article, if you remember, was the one talking about the woman that tripped over her mail and broke her wrist and was able to get damages. Yeah. So political culture in reference to the U.S., attorneys are going to be a large part of that political culture, absolutely. When you think back to it, then we had the fingerprint, talking about how you shopped.
Right.
And then we also had the Walmart vote.
That was fun.
Pay attention to the Walmart vote. Now we're starting to get, when you think about it, into some economic issues again. These are all economic issue articles, and when you think about the U.S., Political culture has a lot to do with that, whether you're paying out damages for lawsuits. We talked about the McDonald's coffee. We talked about the Hooters. We talked about the Hooters lawsuit. I mean, we talked about a number of these things along these lines. So remember those as you're going through this. Now, as far as terms, anything from terms?